YouTube! Today I'm going to be doing a video that most booktubers have already done and probably most of you have already seen, but today I'm going to be showing you 10 books I would recommend to literally anyone. And literally, I mean anyone. Without any further ado, let's get into the video. Woo! Before this video, I actually sectioned it off into parts. Hopefully when I'm editing this video, I'm able to add in the timestamps, so then if there's a specific genre that you want to read more of, you can fast forward to that point. But for our first genre, I'm going to be starting off with the coming of age books. And the first book that I would like to show you guys, probably many of you have heard about. It's quite a popular one, but that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This copy here that I have is actually a collector's edition of the book. I think I got it for Christmas 2 years ago. But besides the point, this book is an absolute masterpiece, and I think everyone, like anywhere, should read this book. This book, if you don't know, it follows our main character, Star, and she's a black girl who lives in this area where it's like her hometown is basically divided up into these different gangs and groups of people. And there's some really good friends that she has within the group, but there's also people that are not very friendly, and it causes her to have a bit of difficulties. And when her best friend is actually shot in a car and she's there, she starts this awareness and this riot in order to get justice for her friend. She also goes to this really high prestigious white kid school, and you can probably guess that she runs into a bit of trouble there, like not personally, but like just with all the comments and the racism that she faces. And this whole book is very, very important, I think, especially for today's culture, because if you guys remember a few years back in March with George Floyd, it was a very, very powerful time for this book to be picked up, and I still think that it is very, very relevant today with everything that happens in Canada, in the US, and in other countries as well. So if you're looking for a book that is going to pull at your heartstrings and that you are not going to be able to ever put down or ever stop talking about, with characters that are very relatable and relevant to real life, this is a book you might want to check out. For my next book, I have a novel that most people probably haven't heard of, I don't think. It's not a super popular one, but I found this, I think, in a giant tiger out of all places. And I picked this book up from the book cart and absolutely fell in love with it. And that is Everything All at Once by Katerina Leno. This book, I didn't really know what to expect from it. It's about this girl, Lottie, who deals with the death of her aunt. And her aunt was a famous writer. And in her will for Lottie, she left a collection of letters, and Lottie, she's been a very anxious person, and she's very quiet, and she kind of sticks to herself, and she's not one for living her life, really. She doesn't take risks, and she's just kind of on the low. But when her aunt leaves behind these letters, it forces Lottie to get out of her comfort zone and really risk having fun. And I think this book is very, very important because, especially with COVID, I feel like everyone felt like they were just in this stage where they weren't able to live their life, which is understandable with the circumstances. But this book actually helped me out a lot because I'm a super shy, quiet person who keeps to themselves. So this book was a great challenge for me to also get out of my comfort zone a lot. And this, the plot twist at the end with one of the characters, I don't even know what to say. But if you're looking for a lighthearted read that deals with a little bit of grief, a little bit of wholesomeness, and challenges and adventures and risks, this is the book for you. Now I'm going to be moving into my dystopian category for this video. And for this genre alone, I only have one book for this, but it is a series that I won't shut up about, okay? This series has my whole heart, these characters, the world, the plot, oh my god, just Renegades, Marissa, Meyer. As you can see, I've tabbed this thing to the point of no return, and with good reason. This series I would recommend to literally anyone on this planet and outside of it. This book And this series, this trilogy, it changed my life forever, and I will never, 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 never go back. Like, there are a lot of dystopian books out there that are more classics, like Divergent or The Hunger Games, but if you were looking for a grueling, captivating, quick trilogy, well, not really quick, I mean, like, the book is pretty lengthy. I think it's about 600 pages. But if you're looking for a book even to get you out of a reading slump, this book, guys, this book is incredible. The characters in it and the worlds and like the connections that they have, everything, it ties back together, and I will never stop talking about this book. I recently convinced my friend to read it, and the night that she finished reading this trilogy, she actually read the last book of this trilogy, Supernova, in one day. That book is 600 pages long. So Jennifer, if you're watching this, I still don't understand how you did that. And I absolutely loved the 20-minute conversation we had at 10:30 at night before going to school the next morning, talking about this series and the wild, wild, wild end to it that I still have dreams about. If you are looking for an incredible read and one that will absolutely blow your mind away, you won't be able to put it down, I highly recommend Renegades by Marissa Meyer. It's incredible. Next genre that I want to dive into is fantasy, and I read a lot of fantasy books, but this one here was probably one of the first fantasy series that I ever got into, and that is The Land of Stories by Colfer. This book is definitely more of a middle-level read, but I'd say anyone can read this book just because of the context that it's written in and the actual real-life challenges and struggles that these characters face. Even though it's about these two kids who fall into their grandmother's storybook and meeting original nursery rhyme characters like Goldilocks and Little Red Riding Hood, this book, like, I really want to reread this series because I think I read this when I was like, I don't know, like 11 or 12. This series is home to me. Alex and Connor are like some of my favorite characters. I feel like they are my own siblings. That's how much I feel connected to them. But this series is so heartwarming, it's so wholesome. I'm pretty sure it's a 6-book series. So it is on the larger side of series within numbers and also pages. It's quite thick. But the adventures that these characters go on is just like, you feel like you're there with them. That's what I absolutely love about this book. And there is also a map in it. Like, can we just appreciate this? It's a good map. If you see a storybook with a map in it, you're picking that thing up and you're walking out of the store with it. Like, I'm such a sucker for fantasy maps, and this book did not disappoint because of it. It was super well written, and I loved the series so much. There's so many memories that I have linked with these books, and that's why I think it is so important to me and so special to me. So if you are looking for a middle level, kind of like a lighter novel to read, I definitely recommend The Land of Stories by Colfer. Continuing in my fantasy category, I have a bit of a different book, and this one is definitely not as light as The Land of Stories is, but it is still an incredibly well-written novel, and that is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I won't forgive you for what you did to this one character. I will not forgive you. However, I will still recommend this book because it pulled at my heartstrings so much. And one of my favorite Disney movies ever is Alice in Wonderland. Marissa Meyer, I've mentioned before, is my favorite author, and she, in her books, deals a lot with fairy tales. And so this one follows the journey of the Queen of Hearts before she was the Queen of Hearts. So when she was just a young girl, figuring herself out like all of us are, this book follows her journey from being this young, happy girl, loving her custard tarts, to this queen who wants to kill absolutely everyone. This book is like, I don't even know what to say about it because I smile every time I see this book. It's so good, and the world that it's placed in, again, Wonderland, it makes you feel like you're there. It's so abstract. The world is so abstract, and I love abstract stuff. Like, when I was in competitive dance, we did this dance called Welcome to Wonderland. I was the Queen of Hearts, and I feel like for my musical theater group, I definitely relate to this book because I acted as the character. Knowing where she came from was like, it was just so perfect, and I got to understand the character more in order to perform as the character. So this book holds a special place in my heart because of that, and I think it is just an incredible book. It's got some romance in it, it's got some fantastical elements that I love, it's got pixies, it's got adventure, it's got Jabberwockies, classic Alice in Wonderland. I love this book so much. It's a great standalone. It is a little bit on the thicker side of books, definitely pushing 500 pages actually. It's like 449, but a great book. Highly recommend you pick this one up if you are looking for an Alice in Wonderland type of vibe. Okay, the next genre that I want to talk about is historical fiction. And many of you probably have seen this book before. It's absolutely amazing. It like blew my mind away. And that book is none other than The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This book, I don't even know what to say about it. You've probably seen me with this book before if you've watched my Christmas book haul from 2022. This book, I don't even know what to say. So amazing. And my favorite part about this book is the end, as well as Addie is such a relatable, strong female lead character, and I will stand by that for the rest of my life. The hell that she went through to get to where she wanted to be, just to fall down again, but still be okay, just because she wanted to save the love of her life. I think like it is such a beautiful romance that bounces between different timelines. So there's modern day New York City. I think it's spaced like 2013 is the modern day, but then it also bounces back to the 1700s in France, where Addie is originally from. And I think getting to see the flashbacks of how Addie became the woman she ended up being in the end is just so special, and it's so important. The characters, can we please talk about the characters? Like, and how they were real people. Guys, if you read this book and you didn't notice that, please give this book a reread, because the start of every new part in the book, because it's split off into different divisions, the beginning of each one, it shows a piece of artwork and it has information listed about the artwork. So what the actual piece is, the artist who created it, the materials it's made out of, and a description about the actual piece of art. And the way that V.E. Schwab transferred those incredible pieces of artwork into her own work is something I've never seen an author do, and I love it so much. Like it blew my mind. And this book is an incredible read about romance and trust and kind of like living past regret. And there's this quote that really sticks with me about, like, it's not from this book, but it definitely connects to that book. We don't regret our mistakes, we learn from them. And I think that's definitely what Addie LaRue is all about. Even though she definitely lived with regret for centuries, she still pushed on and she still fought for what she believed in. The way that she is able to leave her mark on the world, even though she's not able to personally do it herself, I think is so clever. And as someone who definitely has fear about being forgotten, this story hit me like right in the heart, and I absolutely love this story. Everything that was going on in my mind before reading this book went into this book. And I think that is so special to be able to relate to a piece of work like that. So thank you so much, V.E. Schwab, for writing this masterpiece, and everyone should read it. So the next book that I have is a little, I don't know, it doesn't really fit into a genre, but if I had to place it in a genre, it would probably be mystery. It's The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This book blew me away. When I say it blew me away, I mean I was this close to just like absolutely melting. It was so good. And that is because the main character, Avery Kylie Graham's, is just spellbinding. The way that Jennifer Lynn Barnes connects each and every character in this story is just amazing. Like, when you think about this book and you imagine the amount of hours that she spent plotting this out, like, if she's a plotter and not a pantser, I can just imagine like all across her wall are these sticky notes, and like with ties tied to each one. I could see the thought that she put into this book, and I loved it. I loved every single part of this book. So vivid, the characters are so fun, and my favorite character, definitely Jameson. I would die for Jameson Hawthorne. He is like my everything. I love him so much. If you're looking for a bit of mystery, a bit of like family drama, hidden secrets, I recommend you read The Inheritance Games. Very good, very good. Okay, now we are down to the final 3 books that I have for the 10 books I'd recommend to literally anyone. And the next genre is romance. This book is quiet, not super popular, but I definitely think it deserves to be more hyped. And that is Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Gornall. This book is so heartwarming and it's so relatable. As a person who deals with their own anxiety and worries and struggles like everyone else on this world, Under Rose-Tainted Skies is about this girl, Nora. She's a teen and she is afraid of absolutely everything. Like, she is terrified of tsunamis and odd numbers, even afraid of her new neighbor that moves in, Luke, and she really wants to talk to him. But the problem is she's too nervous to talk to him. As the story rolls on, she kind of like flows her way through her anxiety, and it helps her work up the courage to talk to Luke. Luke really helps her to come out of her shell, and I love that so much. I think this story is beautiful, and it's just like, it's so good. If you're looking for a book that is with real world stuff, real world thoughts, real world worries, but is also very cute, I recommend you check this one out. The second last book I have is another one by Marissa Meyer, and that is Instant Karma. This book though, I love it so much. It's so good. This book, like, the tabs on this thing. I loved it so much. It was the perfect romance that I needed to read. Our main character, Prudence, and her family alone. Marissa Meyer, her personality really shows in this book, especially when she talks about all of the kids in Prudence's family being named after a Beatles song. I just thought that was so clever. Prudence is our main character, and she's a very high overachiever in school. She tries her best at absolutely everything she does, and when she's matched with this boy, Quint Erickson, in her lab class, he never shows up on time and he's super unorganized, and Prudence gets very annoyed with his negligence towards the work. So it's like an enemies kind of situation, but as you can tell on the cover, it kind of doesn't end that way. And as Prudence learns more about Quint and his situation, this book takes a huge turn down a path of understanding and trust and positive communication. The book was the perfect, like, even though I didn't read it in the summer, I felt like it was summer, which made me feel very happy. I love this book so much, and with spring now here and summer coming up very quickly, I feel like if you are looking for a nice, happy, light, adventurous summer read, this is it. There's elements of magic in this, there's elements of friendship in this, there's elements of music in this, and also a lot of adorable sea otters and sea animals, sea otters and sea lions. It's a big part of this book. If you want to know the difference, read this. The final book I have for this video is one that I read when I was younger, again, like The Land of Stories. This book is Last of Her Name by Jessica Khoury. It is the perfect sci-fi novel. I love it so much. The romance between the two characters, Stacia and Paul, is amazing. It's spark-worthy, it is captivating, and it is so fun to read. The story within this story is amazing, and I love the worlds that these characters travel to. It's so good. Every time I talk about this book, I get chills remembering reading this for the very first time. I'm not someone who rereads books at all. Like, I think I've only reread maybe 2 books, and this is one of them, because I feel like when you reread a book, you're kind of disturbing the feelings that you felt the first time. I don't know, that's just how I personally feel. I also know there's a lot of readers out there who love rereading books because they like to build on those memories and those feelings that they had the first time they read the book. I think of books as more of like a time capsule, because there's a lot of books that I link to specific moments in my life, how I was feeling, what I was doing, and I feel like my situation at the time really relates to the book, and it just like all those feelings draw into the pages. But this book was worth a reread. And I think I've reread it maybe 3 or 4 times because I love it so much. This book has adventure in it, it has family secrets in it that are revealed really early, but I like the way that Jessica Khoury did that because it really helps the book flow. I think her work is so clever. It's definitely a different writing style, but I really like how her writing style corresponds with the different moods in this book and the atmosphere and the elements. I think it works really, really well, flows really, really well. I love me a good novel about space adventures. Great adventure about family and friendship, definitely friendship, also a bit of loss and grief, and really figuring out what aspects of your life are real and which aspects are false. Cleo and Stasia's relationship is also super, super important to this novel. It is the strongest element in this book. I think this book deserves to be noticed more. It came out in 2019, I think, maybe a bit before that. So it's a little bit older, but it's definitely worth reading. I love it, it's great. If you are wanting to get into a little bit more of a spacey, adventurous novel, I definitely recommend Last of Her Name by Jessica Khoury. There you have it. There are 10 books that I'd recommend to literally anyone. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. It was definitely super fun to make. I loved going through all of the books that I have here. If you'd like to see more recommendation videos about specific genres or specific authors, upcoming releases, please let me know. Sometimes it's really hard coming up with video ideas, so I really appreciate feedback about different videos that you might like to see. But I hope these books inspired you to get back into reading if you're not a super avid reader. I hope that kind of like helps you figure out which books you want to read, like if there's a specific genre you want to try or anything like that. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! Woo!